Welcome to this video, which is a part of a series of trainings offered by the Midwest Center for School Mental Health. Our series offers guidance for developing and implementing effective school-based mental health systems. My name is Dr. Mark Sander, and I serve as co-director for the Midwest Center. I'll be joined today by the other co-director for the Midwest Center, Dr. Cheryl Holm Hansen. In this training, we'll be talking about promoting staff and organizational wellness. For many years now, we've known that educator well-being needs to be a top priority for school districts and educational leaders. Even before the COVID-19 pandemic, educators were at high risk for burnout, stress, compassion fatigue, and for perhaps even leaving the teaching profession completely. During the pandemic, teacher stress has increased significantly, and overall morale of teachers has decreased. It is critically important that we do something to build in the supports both collectively and organizationally to help teachers and support them so that they can thrive and be their best selves for the students and families that they want to serve. Here's some data to put this more into context. Over the past several years, there's been many studies that have looked at teacher stress. They have found that 61% of teachers stated that work was always or often stressful compared to only 30% of the general population. Another study found that 50% of teachers seriously consider leaving the profession. Another study found 77% of teachers say that they were working more in 2020 than in previous years, and 60% of teachers reported that they enjoyed their job less now than they did a year ago. And I'd like to point out all of these studies were conducted before the COVID-19 pandemic. And I also want to point out it's not just about teachers, it's also about principals, bus drivers, paraprofessionals. Many staff, and I would say probably most staff in schools at some point, are feeling highly stressed as well. So what can we do? At the Midwest Center, we believe that comprehensive staff well-being programs that incorporate self-care, but also, importantly, include collective and organizational care can be part of the solution. We know that when staff well-being programs are done well, they improve the physical and mental health of educators. These programs can increase teacher job satisfaction, boost staff morale, and increase staff effectiveness. And this, we know, has a direct impact on students. Research has found that when educators are feeling well, both physically and emotionally, there is increased school connectedness reported by students. Teachers see improved student behavior, and student learning is enhanced. We also know that when educators are feeling well, physically and mentally, there are direct impacts to the school-wide population, such as improved school climate, a reduction in staff absences, and a reduction in staff turnover. So what do we mean by well-being? There are 8 different domains of well-being, which are physical, social, environmental, career, emotional, spiritual, intellectual, and financial. So what do you think are the primary causes of stress for school staff? Let's take a moment to think about that. Another question is, have you seen changes in school stress over the past few years? Recent research conducted by Penn State and the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation in 2016 found 3 main sources of educator stress. They are school organization, job demand and work resources, and social emotional competence. So related to school organization, educators reported that lack of strong principal or school administration was a stressor, as was a negative school climate. Educators also reported lack of a collaborative and collegial school culture was another source of stress. Educators also reported that low trust with administration, lack of organizational structure, and unclear expectations led to increased stress. In the area of job demands and work resources, educators reported that escalating demands of high-stakes testing and managing students struggling with social-emotional issues as also significant stressors. They identified trying to build positive relationships with challenging parents and caregivers as another component of stress. Finally, educators reported that the lack of social-emotional competency and lack of feeling well-equipped to deliver SEL as another stressor. They reported the lack of training in social-emotional learning, not being provided coaching and support with implementing social-emotional learning, and not having school-wide comprehensive SEL programs as another significant problem. When teachers are not able to develop their own feelings of self-efficacy around social-emotional learning, it is difficult for them to manage the stress of students and nurture a healthy classroom and positive relationships with students, parents, and other adults. So how do we help educators build their self-efficacy around social-emotional learning? Well, it begins with focusing on adult SEL. So here's a great quote from CASEL, which, if you don't know about it, is the Collaborative on Academic Social Emotional Learning, which is housed at the University of Illinois, Chicago. It goes like this. It is critically important that school-wide SEL implementation intentionally nurture a work environment in which staff feel supported, empowered to collaborate effectively, and build relational trust, and also able to develop their own social-emotional skills. Right? So really needing to create that environment for those social-emotional skills, both personal and professional, are able to develop. All right, so what are some of the reasons why we should focus on adult SEL? When we help educators cultivate their SEL skills, it increases their patience and empathy with students and families and other staff. It provides a space for healthier communication between educators and students, and it can create a safe learning environment for everyone. We know that when educators reflect on their own social, emotional, and behavioral skills and identify their strengths and areas of struggle, and then make a plan to use this information to grow both personally and professionally, they are better equipped to meet the SEL and academic needs of all students. How do we strengthen adult SEL? Well, we don't have enough time in this video today to take a deep dive into laying out all the steps of designing and implementing a school-wide SEL program. I do want to share with you some of the best practices from CASEL around adult SEL work. CASEL states that schools are more effective at teaching, modeling, and reinforcing SEL for students when staff have cultivated their own SEL skills. This means that schools will need to focus on adult personal growth as educators, as well as their growth personally in social emotional learning. During this journey, staff may need to engage with new programming or curriculum around SEL. They may need to take on new responsibilities and adjust their professional practices in order to successfully implement SEL in the classroom and school-wide. Therefore, many educators might need some support in doing this. So CASEL talks about 3 critical steps in cultivating adult SEL. The first step is called Learn, which involves helping educators reflect on personal, social-emotional competencies and helping them develop the capacity to support SEL in their peers and in students. Some of the things that are involved in this step are educators reflecting on their personal SEL skills, using a brain-based model for workplace collaboration, educators examining biases for cultural competence, helping educators foster a growth mindset, developing best practices for self-care and re-energizing, and then finally developing a personalized professional learning plan around SEL. The second step is called Collaborate. In this step, schools need to set up structures such as professional learning communities or implement peer monitoring for staff to foster collaboration on how to hone their strategies for promoting school-wide SEL. Some of the key components are staff developing shared agreements about how they will interact with each other and with students, and how they will model SEL skills in their actions. Another key component is developing communities that meet on a regular basis to build community and trust and create a safe space for exploration of SEL skills for educators. Developing a peer mentoring process can help educators support each other in developing and mastering their SEL skills. Lastly, is making sure to integrate SEL practices into all meetings that staff are involved in. This will provide the opportunity to continually practice these skills in a natural environment. The third step that CASEL recommends is called model. In this step, not surprisingly, school leadership create opportunities for educators to model and practice their SEL competencies, mindset, and skills with students, families, community partners, and really one another as well. Some of the key components here are modeling and practicing SEL skills with students in the classroom, in the hallway, and really basically in any interaction you're having with a student. Another key component is staff modeling SEL skills with each other and in their daily interactions. SEL skills can be practiced and modeled, in every meeting or anytime that staff come together. And the last key component of model is related to school leaders. School leaders are critical in taking that first step to model the SEL skills in all that they do. When leaders show the importance of modeling and practicing and mastering SEL skills, their staff will follow. Now that we've talked about some of the ways that you can strengthen adult SEL, we want to share with you an activity that can help build some of those adult SEL skills. Many of you might know this already, this activity. The activity is called Restorative Practices Circles or Listening Circles. This activity provides an opportunity for school staff to practice active listening with each other, create the opportunity for them to get comfortable being vulnerable with each other. It can create feelings of empathy towards one another and foster deeper connections among your school staff. So as you prepare to hold a listening circle with your staff, it's important to think about what prompts you want to use to start and facilitate the conversation, which really might be based in what you intend to accomplish from the listening circle. So here's some possible goals of your listening circle. It could be building connectedness among school staff, could be processing a difficult situation, or it might be working on developing solutions and creating a safe space to brainstorm and move towards potentially consensus. Listening circles with staff give leaders an opportunity to gather information on the possible needs for connection that staff have, identify problems that need to be resolved, and identify skills that may need to be taught. As leaders are taking in this information after the listening circle is completed and making an action plan, they can think about the next steps from a multi-tiered system of support approach or an MTSS approach, and think about 3 possible tiers of next steps. And so it would be deciding if this is something that needs to be addressed at tier 1, which would be coming back to all the staff to talk about what was heard and maybe some next steps about kind of moving forward with building connection or resolving a problem and creating a solution. Or it might be at tier 2, where it's more focused on a small group. It could be a couple of classrooms, it could be a grade level. And then tier 3, which is where the conversation is really focused on an individual and supporting that educator. So again, this is just one activity of many that you can use to really start practicing those adult SEL skills and help in building the strength and confidence of your school staff. So hopefully this discussion on how to kind of develop the adult SEL skills has been helpful. And now let's move on to other strategies to support well-being.
The information that Mark just shared highlights the importance of addressing school staff stress and wellness. I'm going to talk now about some different frameworks for promoting school staff wellness and a strategy for creating and implementing a school staff wellness plan. My name is Dr. Cheryl Holm-Hansen, and I serve as co-director for the Midwest Center for School Mental Health, along with Mark Sander. It's important to note that staff wellness is not just about self-care. We all know that self-care is important for everyone, not just school staff. However, the pathway to improved well-being for school staff requires more than self-care alone. Staff well-being also requires organizational efforts to reduce the causes of stress and promote collective well-being. One useful framework comes from the National Center for School Mental Health. They recently released a model of organizational well-being that emphasizes 8 key domains. You can see that one of these elements relates to self-care. However, to achieve organizational wellness, you also need to consider professional development and recognition, organizational and supervisory support, input, flexibility, and autonomy, work climate and environment, professional quality of life, diversity, equity, inclusion, and access, and purpose and meaningfulness. It can also be helpful to articulate the values that might shape the work within each of these domains. You can create your own set of guiding values or develop them for this work collaboratively with other district staff. One values framework that I have found helpful comes from the trauma-centered work underway in Wisconsin. This framework emphasizes the characteristics of a trauma-informed and healing-centered organizational culture. The framework highlights the importance of 6 core values: safety, collaboration and shared relationships, trustworthiness and transparency, empowerment and choice, peer support, and cultural, historical, and gender issues. As we think about school staff well-being, it can be helpful to consider multiple levels of focus. Some of your work may focus on promoting the individual well-being of staff members. What would help them feel satisfied and fulfilled in their work, or provide them with a sense of meaning or purpose? You should also consider collective well-being, which relates to the entire group or community of school staff. How do people work together to offer support and build positive community? And finally, consider overall organizational well-being. What changes could be made to the organization's culture or climate to prevent stress and promote the physical, psychological, and social health of all employees? There are many different strategies that can be incorporated into a staff wellness strategy. Time and resources are limited, however, and it's not possible to do too many things at once. But how do you determine what is most needed in your school or district? How do you prioritize the changes that will make the most difference? I'm going to outline 7 steps that you can take to move forward with a staff wellness initiative. This process was modified from a framework published in 2018 by the National Association of Chronic Disease Directors. The first step is to build support for this work from district and school leadership, employees, and other stakeholders. If you are in a non-leadership role, it is important to engage your school or district leadership to get buy-in for a school staff wellness initiative. District and school leaders, such as the superintendent, principals and vice principals, human resources and operations staff, and other supervisory staff can contribute in various ways. Leadership will play a critical role in allocating resources such as staff time, space, and funding. They will also need to approve any program plans that emerge from the work. Leadership will be critical in facilitating changes to policy, practice, and infrastructure. They may also play a role in ensuring that employee wellness is incorporated into other initiatives, such as strategic planning, school improvement plans, or district evaluation efforts. In addition to these tangible support roles, leadership can play an important role just by being visible in the work. They can help communicate with employees about the initiative and its importance, and encourage participation by modeling their own healthy behaviors and participating in wellness offerings. School board members and administrators care about employee wellness, but it's difficult for them to invest resources into any initiative unless it can advance their primary outcomes related to student achievement. You may need to help administrators understand the ways that staff stress and burnout can impact student learning. In addition to leadership support, employees also need to invest in the process. It is important that staff wellness efforts do not feel like additional burden for employees. To increase their support for the work, demonstrate a genuine commitment to employee health and well-being, and describe the potential benefits of participating. It's also important that employees have opportunities to provide input into the planning process. Use messaging for staff that is respectful, inclusive, and realistic. The second step of the process is to create a wellness team or committee to lead the initiative. Having a diverse committee to provide guidance will strengthen your initiative by bringing together multiple perspectives, increasing buy-in, distributing workload, and providing structure. Many districts and schools have existing groups working on topics related to wellness that may be well positioned to lead the employee wellness work. If your district or school does not have an existing group, you can convene a new committee. The committee could include any school staff, not just those who work in a wellness-oriented role, such as counselors or social workers or nurses. When recruiting committee members, look for individuals who are excited about employee wellness, persuasive, relatable, and trusted by their peers. Consider including teaching staff, as well as staff who work in other roles, such as cafeteria workers, bus drivers, or office staff. It may be helpful to include a school or district administrator on the committee to help ensure that strategies can be implemented and to identify needed resources to support the work. If an administrator is not going to be directly involved, be sure to provide them with regular updates and offer them opportunities to give regular feedback or input related to the committee's work. The third step is to gather information. Knowing what types of programs employees are interested in and understanding their motivations and barriers will help you develop an initiative that makes employees excited to participate. Develop strategies for gathering input from employees. You may want to conduct a survey. There are a number of existing tools that may be useful for this purpose. If conducting a survey is not possible, informal interviews or focus group conversations during staff meetings could provide useful insight. Regardless of how the information is gathered, there are several different issues that you should explore at this stage. First, it's helpful to know what staff are interested in related to wellness. What kinds of activities are they interested in? How would they like services to be offered? Should they be in person or virtual? What would motivate them to participate? What barriers to participation might they face, such as time or scheduling, physical limitations, or affordability? How could these barriers be reduced? It can also be helpful to gather some information about the actual health status of staff. Knowing which health risks and conditions are common among employees can help you identify the wellness offerings that will have the greatest impact. The Employee Wellness Committee may be able to obtain de-identified information by reviewing aggregate results of employee health assessments or screenings, health insurance claims data, employee absence or turnover data, and community health data sets. It can also be helpful to explore existing programs and resources that are in place to support employee wellness. Understanding what programs and supports are already in place to improve employee wellness allows you to target any gaps and avoid duplication. What classes, events, awareness campaigns, or other services has the district already implemented? What policies and practices are in place to promote employee wellness, and are they being implemented fully? What facilities are available to support employee wellness? Do benefits packages cover a range of services, including preventive care, mental and behavioral health care, employee assistance, or health coaching at affordable rates? What initiatives are in place to advance student health that could be leveraged to support employee wellness as well? Understanding what resources are available to support the initiative will help you develop a realistic plan. There are several types of resources to consider, such as school staff with relevant experience. You may also have community organizations or partners that might support the initiative. Once you have gathered all of this information, you can move to step 4, which is to create your plan. Start the planning process by prioritizing wellness topics using the information you have gathered. It's best to focus on a small number of initiatives to take on, rather than trying to do everything all at once. It can be challenging to prioritize the best few strategies for moving forward. In making this determination, consider the potential impact of the strategies, the resources available to support the work, alignment with employee needs and interests, the ease of implementation, and the degree of leadership support. As you select your top priorities, try to create goals for what you would hope to achieve over the next few years. Goals provide you with direction and purpose for an initiative. State your goals in clear and positive terms. For instance, rather than saying that you want to decrease staff stress or burnout, you might want to focus on staff feeling positive about their jobs, better work-life balance, or improved staff retention. If possible, you might want to try to link your goals with other district goals or accountability measures to demonstrate alignment with district priorities. Once you are clear on your goals, you can select activities or strategies that would help you achieve these goals. There are many evidence-based and promising programs, classes, policy changes, and other offerings that districts and schools can implement to improve employee wellness. It's best to balance offerings that will take more effort with others that are less difficult to put into place. Creating a healthy school environment can be achieved through 4 types of changes. First, you could consider changes in policies, such as allowing staff to purchase healthy meals from the cafeteria at a discount. Second, are there opportunities to change or implement new practices, such as allowing time for staff and students to do physical activity breaks together. Third, be mindful about organizational norms and messaging. For example, having school or district leadership participate in wellness offering sets the tone and encourages others to participate. Finally, there may be infrastructure changes that are helpful for staff, such as providing quiet spaces for mindfulness, deep breathing, or other stress relief approaches. Within these 4 general categories, a wide array of wellness strategies may be possible. Consider these strategies for promoting well-being. First, you could choose to offer activities or events for staff, such as offering individual or group classes, challenges, gatherings, or other events. Activities may be one-time or ongoing and could include a wide variety of social events, wellness activities, or other programs. Second, there may be changes in benefits that could be helpful. Are there opportunities to strengthen the benefits offered to staff, such as an insurance coverage, flex time, incentives and reimbursements, employee assistance programs, or other benefits? Third, you could implement strategies to create a healthier school environment, including infrastructure, policies, practices, and norms that support healthy behavior. Consider whether there are opportunities to make the school environment more comfortable or with greater access to healthy food and exercise opportunities. Healthier school environments can also result from changing policies or practices that cause stress, such as by increasing staffing levels or promoting work-life balance. And fourth, information and awareness building strategies can help in disseminating information and resources to school staff. This may include professional development opportunities. Once you know what you want to do, we recommend creating a written plan. Start with your goal and intended activities. Consider breaking the larger goal into some smaller objectives. For instance, you may have a broader goal of promoting employee health through improved access to physical fitness resources. You decide to offer some events, including a lunchtime walking group that will meet once a week. In addition, the team would like to make some policy changes, such as allowing staff to use the school fitness center before and after school. Finally, you would like to make some benefit changes, including modifying employee health plans to include discounts for fitness centers. Some of these activities may be easier to launch than others. Your first-year objectives may be to identify a volunteer to organize the walking group, prepare a policy related to fitness center use and present it to the school board for approval, and meet with human resources staff to identify options and costs related to changing the benefit plan. One advantage of this plan is that it provides multiple ways for staff to participate. For example, some may prefer to join the walking group, while others would rather receive reimbursement for a gym membership. Combining different types of offerings also provides more support for healthy behaviors and can increase staff engagement. Here's another example. You set a goal of improving work-life balance and prioritize several strategies. Most critically, you will need to address workforce shortages that are resulting in increased work for other staff. You also want to try to make some reductions in workload by reducing the number of written student assignments that need to be graded and reducing expectations for staff to be responsive to students and parents on evenings or on weekends. These are some ambitious and important goals, so it is important to identify some preliminary steps that can be taken. You identify several first-year priorities, including launching a marketing campaign to recruit additional substitute teachers, meeting with curriculum teams to identify strategies for reducing assignments, instituting a policy regarding access to staff outside of school hours, and communicating with students and parents about this policy. As you create objectives, you can also identify measures of success to monitor throughout the year. With the first example, you may want to track participation in the walking group and use of the fitness center. With the second, you may track the number of available substitutes or the number of assignment changes that were made. With both examples, it can be helpful to gather feedback from staff to determine the potential benefits of the changes that are being made and to gather recommendations for enhancing the work further. It is also helpful to develop a clear plan for moving forward with your stated goals and objectives. Develop a list of action steps, including a timeline for each step. Clearly identify who is responsible for taking these steps and the resources that they will need to do so. As you create your plan, try to balance small wins with larger systemic changes. Starting small and achieving early wins is a great way to generate excitement about the initiative and to continue to build support. It also keeps the workload manageable, helps maintain momentum, and avoids spreading resources too thin. However, at the same time, focusing only on these quick and easy opportunities can lead to frustration if staff feel that you are ignoring the broader systemic concerns. While moving forward with some quick and easy strategies, make sure that some of your work is focused on tackling the deeper root issues behind the school staff stress. These changes can ultimately have a more significant impact on staff well-being. However, they can also be complex and may require more time to address. As we revisit the overall process of creating a staff wellness plan, we have talked already about building support, creating your team, assessing staff needs, and developing your plan. You should be able to move forward at this point in implementing your plan. However, there are a few additional steps to consider as you move into implementation. The fifth step is to maximize your impact. There are two primary priorities at this stage. The first priority is to develop and implement communication strategies to keep staff informed and engaged in the work. Your communication strategies should focus on the key information that employees need to know and should come out at the right time to support their involvement. While the content of the communication is the most important consideration, the format also matters. Make sure that communication about your wellness initiatives is interesting and engaging. Use branding and visuals to make the information appealing to read. It is also important to communicate in multiple formats, such as email, newsletters, websites, morning announcements, presentation, social media, flyers, or bulletin boards, so that you can reach different types of employees. Your second priority at this stage is to support staff participation. Consider strategies for providing recognition for staff participation, demonstrating leadership support, or offering incentives. Make it easy for staff to participate by building wellness activities into the school day, providing multiple options for participating, and making the activities enjoyable. The sixth step is to demonstrate your results. You developed outcome measures as part of your plan. Collect this information to show the impact of your initiative and share it with your key stakeholders. When deciding how to evaluate, think through how you will use the information. Measure as you go so that you can use the results to improve your strategies on an ongoing basis. The final step is to maintain momentum. It can be exciting to launch a new initiative, but challenging to sustain it over time. Your goals are to stay energized, keep it fresh, change the environment to support well-being, and look to the future. Consider opportunities to celebrate accomplishments, recruit new committee members, gather updated input from staff, and create longer-term goals. We hope that this information provides a good starting point for embarking on efforts to promote school staff well-being. We have additional resources that may be helpful on our website at the Midwest Center for School Mental Health. Thank you.